The message arrived at 3 in the morning. Station time. Ambassador Chen Wei-lin was asleep in her small quarters on Trading Post Gamma 7, a forgotten station on the edge of hegemony space. She had been humanity's representative to the outer trade routes for 6 years now. It was not a prestigious position. The hegemony had made sure of that. Her personal device chimed with the priority alert. She opened her eyes and read the message twice before she fully understood what it meant. The conclave of species had summoned humanity to answer charges of unauthorized expansion. A human mining colony in the Vareth system had been declared illegal. Earth was ordered to send a representative to Conclave Station Paramount within 72 hours to face judgment. Chen sat up in her bed and did the math. The journey from Earth to the Conclave Station took 90 hours by standard FTL. The journey from her current location took 60 hours. The hegemony knew this. They had designed the timeline to make compliance impossible. This was how they operated. This was how they had always operated. She sent an acknowledgement to Earth Command and waited. Within the hour, a response came. She was to represent humanity at the hearing. No support staff would be provided. No legal counsel would accompany her. She was instructed to arrive via appropriate modest transport. Chen understood what this meant. The hegemony wanted humanity to appear small. They wanted humanity to arrive in a worn-out shuttle, alone and unprepared, begging for mercy from the elder species who controlled everything. She had played this role for 40 years. All of humanity had played this role. The second message from Earth Command was different. It was encrypted with codes she had not used in decades. Codes from her early days in military intelligence before she became a diplomat. The message was short. The quiet professional will collect you. Be ready. Chen read the name 3 times. She had heard whispers about this vessel. Everyone in Earth's government had heard whispers, but she had never believed it was real. She began to pack her things. The next morning, Chen made her way to the station's main docking port. Trading Post Gamma 7 was a busy place, filled with merchants and travelers from dozens of species. Most of them ignored her. Humans were not important in the hegemony. They were tolerated, sometimes pitied, often dismissed. A Valorian trader bumped into her as she walked. He did not apologize. His species never apologized to humans. The Valorians were one of the elder species, proud warriors who had conquered 100 worlds before humanity discovered fire. They looked down on everyone, but they looked down on humans most of all. Chen said nothing. She had learned patience long ago. She reached the observation deck above the docking port and waited. Through the large windows, she could see the stars and the occasional flash of ships arriving and departing. A Krethexy cargo hauler moved slowly toward its berth. A Morath diplomatic vessel sat in the priority dock, its elegant curves marking it as expensive and important. The Morath were different from the other elder species. They were old, perhaps the oldest of all the spacefaring races. They watched more than they acted. They had treated humanity with distant curiosity rather than open contempt. Chen had always wondered what they were thinking. Her device chimed. The message was simple. Incoming vessel, unknown classification. Then the alarm started. Every warning system on the station activated at once. The lights shifted to emergency red. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. Chen watched through the window as station security scrambled to their posts. Something was dropping out of FTL. The flash of arrival was blinding. When Chen's vision cleared, she saw it. The vessel hung in space like a mountain given form. It was enormous beyond anything she had imagined. The largest hegemony warships were perhaps 3 kilometers long. This vessel was 15 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow as she watched. Weapon ports lined its surface like stars in a constellation. Shield generators glowed with faint blue light. It was the most beautiful and terrible thing Chen had ever seen. The station's communication system crackled with panicked voices. Hegemony commanders demanded identification. Security forces called for backup. Merchants ran for their ships. Then a single transmission cut through the noise. The voice was calm, professional, and human. Trading Post Gamma 7. This is the Earth vessel Quiet Professional. We are here to collect Ambassador Chen Wei-lin. Please direct her to Shuttle Bay 4. The station went silent. Chen picked up her bag and walked toward the shuttle bay. As she moved through the corridors, she passed dozens of aliens who stared at her with new eyes. The Valorian trader who had bumped into her earlier pressed himself against the wall as she approached. He looked afraid. She did not stop to speak to him. She had a ship to catch. The shuttle that waited for her was small and ordinary. The pilot was a young woman in an Earth Navy uniform. She saluted as Chen approached. "Ambassador, welcome aboard. Captain Morrison sends his regards. How long have you been out here?" Chen asked as she climbed into the shuttle. "The professional has been in position for 3 days, ma'am. We were waiting for the hegemony to make their move." Chen absorbed this. Earth had known the summons was coming. They had prepared. The shuttle lifted off and carried her toward the massive vessel. As they approached, Chen could see more details. The ship was not just large, it was impossibly advanced. The technology that covered its surface was unlike anything the hegemony possessed. Some of it looked almost organic. Some of it looked ancient. "How long did it take to build this?" she asked. 32 years, ma'am. 3 generations of engineers. Everything we learned, everything we developed, everything we found. Everything we found," Chen repeated. "The Vareth system." The pilot nodded but said nothing more. The shuttle entered a massive hangar bay. Inside, Chen saw rows of smaller combat vessels, each one more advanced than anything the hegemony had deployed. Crews moved with quiet efficiency. There was no chaos, no panic. These people had trained for this moment. Captain Morrison met her at the hangar exit. He was an older man with gray hair and steady eyes. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations. "Ambassador Chen, thank you for coming. I don't think I had a choice, Captain. You always had a choice. We all did. For 40 years, humanity chose to wait, to watch, to prepare." He gestured for her to follow him. "Now we choose to speak." They walked through corridors that hummed with power. Chen saw technology she did not recognize, systems that seemed to anticipate their movement and respond to their presence. The ship felt alive. "The hegemony will send fleets," she said. "When they see what we have built, they will try to destroy us." "Yes. Can this ship survive against their combined forces?" Morrison stopped walking. He turned to face her with an expression she could not read. "Ambassador, this ship could end their combined forces. That's not why we built it." "Then why?" "So they would have to listen." He resumed walking. "For 40 years, humanity petitioned the conclave for fair treatment. For 40 years, they ignored us. They sabotaged our colonies. They restricted our trade. They wrote laws specifically designed to keep us weak. I know. I was there. Then you know why we needed this." Morrison led her to an observation deck that looked out at the stars. "We discovered something in the Vareth system. Ancient technology from a species that died before the hegemony existed. We could have used it to build weapons. We could have built a fleet and conquered everything. But you didn't. No. We built one ship. One vessel that proves what we can do without proving what we will do." He turned to face her. "The hegemony expects humanity to arrive at the conclave in a broken shuttle, begging for mercy. Instead, they will see the quiet professional, and they will understand that we are not begging anymore." Chen looked out at the stars. Somewhere ahead, the conclave waited. The elder species who had controlled the galaxy for millennia sat in judgment over humanity. They expected submission. They were going to be disappointed. "How do you want me to handle the hearing?" she asked. "Tell them the truth. All of it. Every injustice, every sabotage, every law designed to harm us. We have documented everything for 40 years. They won't like hearing it. No. But they will listen." Morrison smiled for the first time. "That's the point of bringing a very large ship, Ambassador. It guarantees an audience." The quiet professional began to move. Its engines made no sound that Chen could hear, but she felt the power flowing through the vessel. They were heading for the conclave. Chen thought about the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. The early years of hope, when Earth first made contact with alien life. The slow realization that the galaxy was not welcoming but hostile. The decades of exploitation and humiliation that followed. And through it all, humanity had smiled and nodded and built in secret. Now the secret was revealed. She wondered what the elder species would do when they saw what humanity had become. Fear was likely, anger was certain. But perhaps, if she did her job well, there might also be understanding. The stars stretched into lines as the ship entered FTL. The quiet professional carried humanity's message to the center of galactic civilization. The message was simple. We are not weak. We never were. And we will never be ignored again. Conclave Station Paramount was the largest artificial structure in the known galaxy. It hung in space like a great wheel, spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. Its diameter was over 200 kilometers. Its population numbered in the millions. Every major species maintained embassies here. Every important decision in galactic politics was made within its halls. The station had been designed to impress and intimidate. It succeeded at both. Ambassador Chen Wei-Lin watched through the observation deck as the quiet professional dropped out of FTL near the station. Even at this distance, she could see the panic their arrival caused. Emergency lights flickered across the station's surface. Defense platforms rotated to face them. Communication channels exploded with frantic transmissions. "They are demanding our identification," the communication officer reported. "They are also demanding we maintain distance and prepare to be boarded." Captain Morrison smiled slightly. "Acknowledge our identity. Ignore the rest." The quiet professional moved closer to the station. It did not stop at the designated distance for military vessels. It did not respond to increasingly urgent commands. It simply glided forward until it took position less than 50 kilometers from the station's diplomatic quarter. At this range, the scale of the human vessel became impossible to ignore. It dwarfed everything around it. Hegemony patrol ships that approached looked like insects next to a whale. Chen's device buzzed with incoming messages. Dozens of diplomatic channels were requesting contact. Species that had ignored humanity for decades suddenly wanted to talk. "Interesting," she said. "It seems we have their attention." That was the plan. Morrison nodded toward the shuttle bay. "Your transport is ready, Ambassador. The Conclave has granted you emergency diplomatic access. How generous of them. They don't have much choice. We're not going anywhere." Chen gathered her documents and headed for the shuttle. As she walked, she passed crew members who nodded respectfully. These were the best Earth had to offer. Scientists, engineers, soldiers who had spent their careers preparing for this moment. None of them showed fear. She admired that. The shuttle crossed the gap between the battleship and the station in minutes. As they approached, Chen saw diplomatic vessels from a dozen species scrambling to relocate. The quiet professional's presence had disrupted everything. Good, she thought. Disruption was exactly what humanity needed. The station's diplomatic dock was chaos. Security forces from multiple species had gathered to receive her. Diplomats argued in half a dozen languages. News drones hovered everywhere, broadcasting the unprecedented situation across the galaxy. Chen stepped off the shuttle and surveyed the scene. She kept her face calm. A Valorian military attaché pushed through the crowd. He was tall even for his species, with the golden scales and proud bearing that marked him as nobility. His uniform displayed dozens of combat decorations. "Ambassador Chen, I am Kithra Valtorin, assigned to escort you to the Grand Chamber." His voice carried barely concealed hostility. "You will explain the meaning of that vessel. I will explain everything to the Conclave, not to an escort." Kethra's eyes narrowed. The Valorians were not accustomed to defiance from humans. For 40 years, humanity had bowed and scraped and accepted whatever treatment the elder species provided. Those days were over. "You will come with me," Kethra said finally. "The High Arbiter demands your immediate presence." "Then let's not keep him waiting." They moved through the station's corridors. Chen noticed how the crowds parted before them. Word had spread. Everyone knew about the massive human vessel that had appeared without warning. Everyone wanted to see the representative of this suddenly dangerous species. The station's architecture was designed to make visitors feel small. The ceilings soared overhead. The walls displayed the achievements of elder species. Statues of hegemony founders looked down from pedestals. Chen had walked these corridors many times before. She had always felt the weight of their judgment. Today, she felt nothing but purpose. "Your species has made a serious mistake," Kethra said as they walked. "The hegemony does not tolerate threats. We have made no threats. That vessel is a threat. That vessel is a guarantee." Chen stopped walking and faced him directly. For 40 years, humanity has asked for fair treatment. For 40 years, we have been ignored. We have been exploited. We have been sabotaged. Lies. Evidence. She held up her datapad. Everything is documented. Every trade deal designed to bankrupt our colonies. Every accident that killed our people. Every law written specifically to prevent our advancement. Kethra said nothing. We built that ship because we had no choice. Chen continued. We needed something that would make you listen. Now you will listen. They resumed walking in silence. The Grand Chamber was the heart of Conclave Station Paramount. It was a vast amphitheater that could seat representatives from over 1,000 species. The seating was arranged by seniority. Elder species sat near the top, close to the High Arbiter's platform. Younger species sat lower. Humanity's seat was at the very bottom, near the entrance doors. It was the lowest position in the chamber, a deliberate insult that had lasted for generations. Chen walked to her place and sat down. She did not complain about the location. She did not ask for better treatment. She simply waited. The chamber filled slowly as representatives from across the galaxy took their positions. Chen saw familiar faces among them. The Krethixi trade delegation that had blocked human commerce for decades. The Morath observers who watched everything with ancient eyes. The Valorian military commanders who had advocated for humanity's elimination. They all looked at her differently now. There was no more contempt in their eyes. There was fear. High Arbiter Voxasnal took his position on the central platform. He was Rithani, a species known for their legal expertise and political manipulation. His long gray robes marked his office. His cold eyes revealed nothing. This emergency session is called to order, he announced. Ambassador Chen Wei-Lin of Earth, you have been summoned to answer charges of unauthorized expansion into restricted space. Chen stood. I acknowledge the summons. You were instructed to arrive via appropriate modest transport. Instead, you have brought a vessel of war to this station. Explain yourself. The vessel is not a weapon of war. It is a guarantee of peace. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A vessel of that size and power is not peaceful, Voxanal said. Neither is 40 years of systematic exploitation. Chen activated her datapad. Holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing documents and recordings. I have evidence of coordinated efforts by multiple hegemony species to suppress human development. The chamber erupted. Voxnal raised his hand for silence. These accusations are serious. They are documented. Chen highlighted specific files. Trade agreements that guaranteed human losses. Sabotage of human colonies disguised as accidents. Laws written specifically to exclude humans from advancement. All recorded. All verified. You cannot prove coordination. I can prove results. 40 years ago, humanity was promised equal membership in the hegemony. Today, we are still classified as a probationary species. Our trade is restricted. Our expansion is limited. Our representatives are seated near the door. She gestured at her position. This is not cooperation. This is control. A Valorian commander stood. The humans built a warship in secret. They hid it from the hegemony. This proves they cannot be trusted. We hid it because we had no choice, Chen replied. Every time humanity developed new technology, it was confiscated for security review. Every time we built something useful, it was taken for the common good. The hegemony stole our innovations and gave us nothing in return. You were compensated according to standard agreements. We were compensated with restrictions and contempt. The Morath representative rose from her seat. She was ancient even by the standards of her long-lived species. Her voice was soft but carried throughout the chamber. Ambassador Chen, you say your vessel is a guarantee of peace. Please explain what you mean. Chen turned to face the elder diplomat. Humanity discovered something in the Vareth system. Ancient technology from a species that existed before the hegemony. We could have used it to build a fleet. We could have armed ourselves for war. But you did not. We built one ship, a single vessel that demonstrates our capability without demonstrating our intent. Chen paused. We came here alone. We came to talk. If we wanted conquest, we would have brought more. The Morath nodded slowly. A show of strength paired with a gesture of restraint. Yes, we needed the strength to make you listen. We chose the restraint to show we mean no harm. The chamber fell silent. Voxnal leaned forward. You expect us to believe that humanity poses no threat? After revealing such overwhelming power? I expect you to understand our position, Chen said. For 40 years, we were powerless. We asked for fairness and received exploitation. We asked for equality and received contempt. Now we have power, and we are still asking for fairness and equality. Nothing more. And if we refuse, Chen met his gaze steadily. Then we will leave. We will take our ship and return to our space. We will build more ships if we must. We will defend ourselves if we must. But we will not fire first. We will not conquer. We will not become what we have suffered under. The Morath representative spoke again. The humans offer us a choice. We can continue as before and face a powerful enemy, or we can change and gain a powerful ally. That is for the Conclave to decide, Voxnal said. This session will continue tomorrow. Ambassador Chen, you will remain on the station. Of course. Chen sat back down in her seat near the door. As the chamber emptied, she noticed that many representatives took longer routes to avoid passing near her. Others stopped to look at her with expressions she could not read. Kethra approached her position. His hostility had faded, replaced by something else. Confusion, perhaps, or the beginning of respect. Your species is full of surprises, he said. We had to be. It was the only way to survive. Chen looked up at the chamber around her. Tomorrow would bring more arguments, more accusations, more fear. But today, humanity had been heard. It was a beginning. The session resumed at dawn, station time. Ambassador Chen Wei-Lin had not slept. She had spent the night reviewing documents, preparing responses, and coordinating with Captain Morrison aboard the Quiet Professional. The next few hours would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. She entered the Grand Chamber and took her place near the door. The other representatives were already seated. More had come today. Word had spread across the galaxy about the human battleship and the accusations Chen had made. Everyone wanted to witness what came next. High Arbiter Voxnal called the session to order. His expression was harder than yesterday. He had spent the night under pressure from a dozen species, each demanding different outcomes. Some wanted humanity destroyed. Others wanted negotiation. None knew how to handle this new reality. Ambassador Chen, yesterday you made serious accusations against the hegemony. Today you will provide your evidence in detail. Chen stood. Gladly, she activated the chamber's display systems. Holographic documents filled the air around the assembled representatives. Financial records, communication logs, internal memos from hegemony agencies. 40 years of evidence gathered by humanity's intelligence services. Let us begin with trade, Chen said. In the year 2087, humanity signed the Standard Commerce Agreement with the hegemony. This agreement promised fair access to galactic markets. She highlighted a section of the document. Section 14, subsection 3. It states that all member species shall receive equal opportunity to participate in interstellar trade. The Krethzi trade representative shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Now, observe the actual implementation. Chen brought up a new set of documents. These are the trade licenses issued to human merchants over the following 40 years. Notice that every license restricts human trade to routes that were already unprofitable. Notice that every request for expansion was denied. Notice that human goods were taxed at 3 times the standard rate. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Krethzi Commerce Authority approved these restrictions, Chen continued. The justification given was security concerns. The true reason was economic competition. Human manufacturing was more efficient than Krethzi manufacturing. Rather than compete fairly, they chose to suppress us. The Krethzi representative stood. These documents are forgeries. Humanity fabricated evidence to support their accusations. These documents were obtained from hegemony systems. They carry official encryption signatures that can be verified. Chen smiled coldly. Would you like me to explain how we obtained them? It would be educational for everyone interested in hegemony security weaknesses. The Krethzi sat down. Chen moved to the next set of evidence. Now let us discuss the accidents that killed human colonists. The chamber fell silent. This was dangerous ground. Accusations of murder could not be easily dismissed. In the past 40 years, 17 human colonies experienced catastrophic failures, life support malfunctions, shield generator breakdowns, navigation errors that sent ships into stars. Chen displayed the casualty figures. Over 200,000 humans died in these accidents. Voxnal interrupted. Space is dangerous. Accidents happen to all species. True. But these accidents share interesting patterns. Chen highlighted specific details. All 17 colonies were in systems with valuable resources. All 17 were replaced by hegemony operations within months of their destruction. All 17 experienced failures in equipment that had passed inspection days before. She paused to let the implications sink in. We investigated each incident. We found evidence of sabotage in 14 of 17 cases. Equipment had been tampered with. Safety systems had been disabled. In 3 cases, we identified the specific individuals responsible. A Valorian commander stood. You accuse the hegemony of mass murder. Do you have any idea what that means? I accuse specific individuals and agencies of criminal acts. The evidence is clear. Chen displayed personnel files. These operatives belong to hegemony security services. Their activities were sanctioned by their governments. We know this because we intercepted their communications. The chamber erupted into shouting. Representatives accused each other and demanded explanations. Vox now called repeatedly for order but was ignored. Chen waited. The chaos was useful. It showed the cracks in the hegemony's unity. Eventually, the Morath representative rose. Her presence commanded attention. The shouting faded. Ambassador Chen, you have presented evidence of exploitation and murder. You have demonstrated that your species possesses overwhelming military power. What do you want? Chen faced the ancient diplomat directly. We want justice. We want the individuals responsible for these crimes to face trial. We want compensation for the lives lost and the opportunities stolen. Is that all? No. Chen looked around the chamber. We want the system to change. The hegemony was supposed to bring species together in cooperation. Instead, it has become a tool for elder species to exploit younger ones. Humanity is not the only victim. Others have suffered the same treatment. Several representatives from younger species nodded quietly. We want reforms, transparent governance, fair trade, equal representation, an end to the policies that keep certain species powerful, while others remain weak. Vox now laughed harshly. You arrive with one ship and demand we rebuild galactic civilization to your preferences? We arrive with one ship and ask you to honor your own promises. Chen held up a copy of the Hegemony Charter. This document established the conclave. It promises equality and cooperation for all member species. It has been violated for centuries. We are simply asking you to follow your own rules. The charter is a guideline. Circumstances require flexibility. Circumstances require justice. Chen set down the charter. Humanity spent 40 years being flexible. We accepted unfair treatment because we had no choice. Now we have a choice, and we choose to demand better. A Valorian admiral entered the chamber through a side door. He approached Voxnal and spoke quietly. The High Arbiter's expression changed from irritation to alarm. This session is suspended, Voxnal announced. A security situation requires immediate attention. Chen received a message on her device. It was from Captain Morrison. 3 words. Fleet incoming. The representatives scattered to access their own communications. Within minutes, the news spread through the chamber. 3 hegemony battle fleets were converging on Conclave Station Paramount. Over 4,000 warships. The largest military mobilization in decades. Kethra approached Chen. His face was grim. Fleet Admiral Torvax commands the combined force. He has been authorized to resolve the human situation by any means necessary. Resolve? Chen repeated. That is a diplomatic word for destroy. Yes, Chen thought quickly. She had expected this response. Humanity had expected it. The quiet professional was powerful, but it was still one ship against thousands. What happens if Torvax attacks and fails? She asked. Kethra stared at her. Fails? That fleet could crack a planet. Can it crack our ship? The Valorian hesitated. His military training warred with his assumptions about human capability. I don't know. No one knows. That is why Torvax was given such overwhelming force. If one ship can resist a fleet, then everything we believe about power must change. It must change anyway. Chen looked toward the windows where the stars were visible. Somewhere out there, the fleets were gathering. The hegemony has ruled through strength for millennia, but strength alone is not enough. You need wisdom to know when to use it. You need restraint to know when not to. And humans have this wisdom? We learned it the hard way. Chen turned back to face him. We were weak once. We remember what it felt like to be at the mercy of the powerful. We swore we would never become like our oppressors. The quiet professional is not a weapon of conquest. It is a shield that blocks your enemies, a shield that protects the helpless. Chen smiled slightly. Including the helpless among your own people. Every species has them. The poor, the forgotten, the ones your system leaves behind. We know they exist because we used to be them. Kithra was silent for a long moment. The fleet will arrive within hours, he said finally. Torvax will demand the surrender of your vessel. If you refuse, he will attack. Then he will learn something new about humanity. Chen walked to the observation windows. She could see the quiet professional holding position near the station. Its dark hull seemed to absorb the light around it. It looked patient. It looked ready. She opened a channel to Captain Morrison. Captain, the fleets are coming. We know. We've been tracking them since they mobilized. Can we survive? Morrison's response was calm. Ambassador, that ship represents everything humanity has learned in 40 years of secret preparation. We found ancient technology and improved it. We studied every species in the hegemony and planned for every scenario. We built weapons they cannot imagine and defenses they cannot breach. That is not what I asked. We will not just survive, Ambassador. We will demonstrate that humanity cannot be destroyed by force. And we will do it without killing a single enemy soldier. Chen considered this. You plan to defeat them without casualties? We plan to educate them. There is a difference. She closed the channel and turned back to the chamber. Most representatives had left to contact their governments. A few remained, watching her with expressions of fear and fascination. The Morath representative approached. Her ancient eyes studied Chen carefully. Your captain is confident. He has reason to be. The fleet coming to destroy you is the largest ever assembled against a single target. 4,000 warships from 12 species. If they fail, the hegemony's entire military doctrine will collapse. Yes, you understand what that means. Stability throughout the galaxy depends on the belief that the elder species cannot be challenged. If that belief dies, chaos will follow. Chen nodded slowly. Then perhaps it is time for a new kind of stability. One based on cooperation rather than intimidation. One where species work together because they choose to, not because they fear destruction. The Morath tilted her head. You believe such a thing is possible? I believe it is necessary. The old system is broken. It produces exploitation and resentment. Eventually, it will produce war. Better to change now, while change is still possible. The old diplomat was quiet for a long moment. My species remembers our own early years in the hegemony, she said finally. We too were exploited. We too were treated as inferior. It took us millennia to rise to our current position. Humanity does not have millennia. We are impatient by nature. So I see. The Morath smiled slightly. Perhaps impatience is what the galaxy needs. Perhaps someone must force the question that others are too comfortable to ask. Through the windows, the first of the hegemony fleets dropped out of FTL. Thousands of ships, bristling with weapons, arranged in perfect formation. They had come to crush humanity's defiance. They were about to discover that defiance was only the beginning. The combined hegemony fleet filled space around Conclave Station Paramount. 4,200 warships from 12 species had assembled in perfect formation. Battle cruisers and destroyers and carriers spread across thousands of kilometers, their weapons charged and ready, their shields glowing with power. At the center of this armada, Fleet Admiral Torvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Valorian Dominance. He was old for his species, scarred from decades of combat, decorated with honors from 100 victories. He had crushed rebellions and conquered worlds, and never faced defeat. Today he would destroy the human threat. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. The human vessel has not moved from its position. Torvax studied the holographic display before him. The quiet professional sat motionless near the station. It made no attempt to flee. It made no attempt to communicate. It simply waited. Arrogant creatures, Torvax muttered. They build one ship and believe themselves powerful. Admiral, shall I open communications? Yes. I will give them one chance to surrender. When they refuse, we will demonstrate what true power looks like. The communication channel opened. Torvax arranged his features into an expression of contempt. Human vessel. This is Fleet Admiral Torvax of the Hegemony Combined Forces. You are ordered to power down your weapons and prepare for boarding. Your ship will be confiscated. Your crew will be detained. Your species will be punished for this act of aggression. The response came from a calm human voice. Admiral Torvax, this is Captain Morrison of the Quiet Professional. We decline your offer. This is not an offer. This is a command. We do not recognize your authority to command us. We are here as diplomats, not as prisoners. Torvax snarled. Diplomats do not bring warships to peaceful assemblies. Peaceful assemblies do not send 4,000 ships to threaten visitors. Morrison's voice remained steady. Admiral, I advise you to withdraw your fleet. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. You threaten me? Torvax laughed harshly. 1 ship against 4,000? I promise you, Admiral, that is sufficient. The channel closed. Torvax turned to his tactical officer. All ships, attack formation, destroy that vessel. The hegemony fleet moved as one. Ships repositioned themselves to create overlapping fields of fire. Weapons locked onto the human battleship. The coordinated assault that followed was designed to overwhelm any defense. 4,000 ships fired simultaneously. The space between the fleet and the Quiet Professional filled with energy. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, beam weapons, kinetic projectiles, enough firepower to shatter moons and crack the crusts of planets. A storm of destruction that should have vaporized anything in its path. The human ship's shields activated. Light blazed around the Quiet Professional as the assault struck home. The vessel vanished inside a sphere of raw energy. Explosions bloomed and faded. The attack continued for 30 seconds, then 60, then 2 full minutes of sustained maximum fire. Ceasefire, Torvax commanded. Report damage to target. The tactical displays updated. The officer stared at his readings for a long moment before responding. Admiral, the target is undamaged. Impossible. Shields are intact. No structural damage detected. They absorbed everything we fired. Torvax gripped the arms of his command chair. This was impossible. No ship could survive such an assault. No technology in the galaxy could generate shields that powerful. Resume fire. All ships, maximum output. The attack continued. For 10 more minutes, the combined might of 12 species poured destruction at the human vessel. Energy levels that would destabilize stars. Firepower that could sterilize entire systems. The Quiet Professional did not move. It did not fire back. It simply endured. On the station, Ambassador Chen watched through observation windows as the battle raged. The display was terrifying and beautiful. The human ship had become a sun, surrounded by the constant light of explosions. Yet through gaps in the chaos, she could see its hull untouched. Kethra stood beside her. His face was pale. This is impossible, he said. Our weapons should destroy anything. Your weapons were designed to fight each other, Chen replied. We designed our shields to fight you. How? We have had spaceflight for millennia. You have had it for less than 2 centuries. We found something old, and we learned quickly. Chen watched as another wave of missiles detonated harmlessly against the shields. Necessity is a powerful teacher. The Grand Chamber had transformed into a makeshift observation center. Representatives from every species watched the battle through displays and windows. Some still expected the human ship to fall. Others had begun to understand that the galaxy was changing before their eyes. The Morath representative approached Chen. Your ship is not fighting back. No. Why not? Because we did not come here to kill. Chen turned to face the ancient diplomat. Captain Morrison has standing orders. Defensive actions only. We will not fire first, even though you could destroy that fleet, especially because we could. Power without restraint is tyranny. We will not become tyrants. The battle continued to rage in space, but something was changing. The hegemony ships were running low on ammunition. Their energy reserves were depleting. The sustained assault was exhausting them. And then the Quiet Professional began to respond. It did not fire weapons. Instead, tendrils of energy reached out from its hull, flowing across space like living things. They touched the nearest hegemony ships and passed through their shields as if they did not exist. Systems began to fail. Weapons went offline. Engines powered down. Navigation computers reset. Ship after ship went dark, floating dead in space with their crews alive but helpless. Torvax watched in horror as his fleet died around him. What is happening? He demanded. Unknown energy signature, his officer reported. It is bypassing our defenses and interfacing with our systems. We cannot block it. Can we flee? Not anymore. Our drives are offline. The dominance shuddered as the energy touched it. The lights flickered. The tactical displays went blank. Emergency power activated, keeping life support running but nothing else. Within 15 minutes, the entire hegemony fleet was disabled. 4,000 ships floated dark and silent. Not one had been destroyed. Not one crew member had been killed. But they were utterly defeated. The quiet professional moved slowly through the field of disabled vessels. Its hull glowed faintly with the same energy that had neutralized the fleet. It approached the dominance and stopped. A transmission reached Torvax's personal communicator. "Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. Your fleet is disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. Life support and communications remain operational." Torvax listened in stunned silence. "We could have destroyed you," Morrison continued. "Our weapons are capable of far more than what you have witnessed. We chose restraint because we do not want war. We want peace." "You want submission," Torvax managed to say. "No. We want equality. We want fair treatment. We want the exploitation of humanity to end. These are the same things we asked for when we joined the hegemony. The only difference is that now you must listen." The channel remained open. Torvax struggled to find words. "What happens now?" he finally asked. "That depends on you. Your fleet will remain disabled until our negotiations with the Conclave are complete. Your crews have supplies for several weeks. When an agreement is reached, we will restore your systems and you may leave. And, if no agreement is reached, then we will leave instead. We will return to human space. We will build more ships. And eventually, you will face a species that you cannot defeat, cannot exploit, and cannot ignore. The choice is yours." The transmission ended. On the station, Chen received confirmation that the battle was over. She had watched the entire engagement without speaking. Now she turned to address the representatives who had gathered around her. "You have seen what humanity can do," she said. "You have also seen what humanity chooses not to do. We came here seeking justice. We will accept nothing less." The Morath representative stepped forward. "The conclave will resume immediately. I believe the discussion will be different now." Kethra stood nearby, his military pride shattered by what he had witnessed. Everything his species believed about power had been proven wrong. The greatest fleet ever assembled had been defeated by a single ship that refused to kill. "Why?" he asked Chen. "Why spare them?" Chen considered the question carefully. "Because they are not our enemies," she said finally. "They are victims of the same system we suffered under. The hegemony taught them to fear and dominate. It taught them that power means destruction. We want to teach them something different." "What?" "That true strength is knowing when not to use it. That real power is the ability to choose mercy. That civilization means lifting others up, not pushing them down." She looked out at the disabled fleet floating in space. Those crews were following orders. They believed they were protecting their people. They were wrong, but their intentions were not evil. We will not punish them for the failures of their leaders. Kethra was silent for a long moment. "My people have controlled systems for thousands of years through force," he said. "We believed it was the only way. It was the only way you knew. Now you have seen another." Chen walked toward the grand chamber. The representatives parted before her. The balance of power had shifted forever, and everyone knew it. Behind her, the quiet professional maintained its position among the defeated fleet. It had proven its strength by showing mercy. It had won its victory by refusing to kill, and in doing so, it had demonstrated what humanity truly believed. Power was not the ability to destroy. Power was the ability to choose not to. The grand chamber was full. Every representative from every species had gathered. The seats that were usually half empty now overflowed. Additional observers crowded the balconies and corridors. This session would determine the future of galactic civilization. Ambassador Chenwei Lin stood at the speaker's platform. Behind her, through the massive windows, the quiet professional held position among the disabled hegemony fleet, a constant reminder of what humanity had achieved. High Arbiter Voxesnel called the session to order. His voice had lost its arrogance. The events of the past day had humbled even him. "This session will determine the resolution of current tensions between the hegemony and the human species. Ambassador Chen, you may present your terms." Chen nodded. She had prepared for this moment her entire career. The hegemony has offered humanity many things since the battle concluded, she began. Senior status among the elder species, unlimited trade privileges, military authority over multiple sectors, seats on the High Council that governs all major decisions. She paused to let these words sink in. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably. These offers represented centuries of accumulated power. We refuse. The chamber erupted in confusion. Species that had offered these concessions looked stunned. Species that had feared human dominance looked equally surprised. Vox has now raised his hand for silence. You refuse the status you fought for? We did not fight for status. We fought to be heard. Chen looked around the chamber. If we accept these privileges, we become what we opposed. We become another elder species using power to exploit others. We become exactly like the hegemony that oppressed us. Then what do you want? Chen activated a display showing her proposed reforms. First, we want justice for the crimes committed against humanity. The individuals responsible for sabotage and murder must face trial. The agencies that coordinated these attacks must be dissolved. The species that benefited must pay compensation. Agreed, Voxnell said quickly. Many elder species had already decided to sacrifice a few officials to appease humanity. Second, we want the immediate end of all exploitative practices against younger species. Fair trade, equal representation, transparent governance. Every law that restricts development based on species age must be abolished. This demand caused more concern. The entire structure of hegemony power rested on keeping younger species dependent. You ask us to abandon the order that has maintained stability for millennia, Voxnell protested. I ask you to honor the promises you made when you established that order. Chen displayed the hegemony charter. This document speaks of cooperation and equality. It has been ignored for too long. We are simply asking you to follow your own principles. The Morath representative rose. I support this demand. My species remembers our own treatment in early centuries. We should have spoken against these practices long ago. Other elder species muttered angrily. But with the Morath supporting humanity, direct opposition became difficult. Third, Chen continued, we want the establishment of an independent oversight council. This council will monitor all hegemony activities and report violations. It will include representatives from every species, not just the powerful ones. You want to watch us, a Valorian commander said. I want everyone to watch everyone, including humanity. Chen met his gaze. We do not ask for special treatment. We ask for accountability that applies to all. The chamber debated for hours. Species argued their positions. Alliances shifted and reformed. Chen answered questions and defended each proposal with evidence and logic. Through it all, the quiet professional waited in space. Its presence shaped every discussion. Everyone knew that humanity could enforce its demands by force if necessary. The fact that humans chose negotiation instead made their position stronger. As the debate continued, something unexpected happened. Representatives from younger species began to speak up. The Talani, whose homeworld had been strip-mined by hegemony corporations. The Vastari, whose trade routes had been stolen. The Krynoth, whose scientists had been forced to work for elder species without credit. One by one, they added their voices to humanity's demands. They shared their own stories of exploitation. They provided evidence that matched what Chen had presented. The elder species watched as the foundation of their power crumbled. For millennia, they had kept younger species isolated and competitive. They had prevented alliances that might threaten their dominance. Now, humanity had united them with a single demonstration of strength and mercy. You planned this, Voxnell said to Chen. You knew this would happen. We hoped it would. We knew we were not alone in suffering under the hegemony. We knew others would speak if given the chance. Chen smiled slightly. All they needed was someone to speak first. The final vote took place as artificial dawn lit the station. Humanity's reforms passed by overwhelming majority. Only a handful of elder species voted against them, and their opposition was noted for history. When the results were announced, the chamber fell silent. Chen stepped down from the speaker's platform. She felt exhausted but satisfied. 40 years of preparation had led to this moment. Kethra approached her as the representatives dispersed. Your species has changed everything, he said. Nothing will be the same. That was the intention. The Valorians opposed these reforms. We voted against them. I know. Kethra was quiet for a moment. I understand why you did what you did. We treated humanity badly. We deserved to lose. No one deserves to lose. Everyone deserves the chance to change. Chen looked at him directly. The reforms apply to all species, including yours. You will have the same protections as everyone else. We don't need protection. Everyone needs protection. That's the point. She gestured toward the window where the disabled fleet still floated. Those ships will be restored soon. Their crews will return home. They will tell their families about the battle they lost and the mercy they received. It will change how people think about humanity. We hope it will change how people think about power. Chen turned to leave. The choice of what to do with that change is yours. She walked through the station toward the shuttle bay. The corridors that had seemed oppressive before now felt different. The architecture still towered overhead, but it no longer made her feel small. Captain Morrison met her at the shuttle. Well done, Ambassador. The easy part is over. Now comes the hard work of implementation. Humanity will help with that. We've been planning for this phase too. Chen boarded the shuttle. As it lifted off and carried her toward the quiet professional, she looked back at the station. Representatives from 17 species had already requested diplomatic contact with Earth. The younger races wanted to learn from humanity's example. Even some elder species had expressed cautious interest. The shuttle entered the battleship's massive hangar. Chen disembarked and walked through the corridors that hummed with power. She understood this vessel better now. It was not just a weapon or a symbol. It was a promise. Morrison escorted her to the observation deck. Through the windows, they could see the station and the disabled fleet and the stars beyond. What happens now? She asked. We restore the fleet systems as promised. We return to human space. We begin the process of building the new galactic order. And if the hegemony resists the reforms, then we come back. Morrison's voice was calm. As many times as necessary, until they understand that the old ways are finished. Chen nodded slowly. We could have been conquerors. We had the power. Yes, but we chose differently. Morrison pointed to a plaque mounted on the wall. Chen read the words engraved there. Speak softly. Build a really big stick. Use it to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That was our founding principle, Morrison explained. The engineers who built this ship, the scientists who developed our technology, the leaders who kept our secrets, they all believed in those words. And now the galaxy knows what we believe. Now the galaxy has a choice. They can join us in building something better, or they can resist and eventually fail. Morrison smiled. We learned patience from being weak. We learned mercy from remembering pain. We learned strength from having no other option. The quiet professional began to move. Its engines activated with silent power. The disabled fleet would be restored within the hour. The station would return to normal operations, but nothing would truly return to what it had been. Chen watched the stars as the ship prepared to depart. 40 years ago, humanity had been a young species, eager and hopeful, entering a galaxy they believed would welcome them. They had been wrong. The galaxy had shown them cruelty and exploitation and contempt. They had responded by becoming something new. Not conquerors, not victims, something that the galaxy had never seen before. They had become protectors. The quiet professional accelerated toward the edge of the system. Behind it, the hegemony fleet powered up as their systems restored. Ships that had come to destroy humanity now watched in silence as the human vessel departed. Chen thought about the future. The reforms would face resistance. Old powers would fight to maintain their privilege. There would be conflicts and setbacks and disappointments, but there would also be progress. There would be species freed from exploitation. There would be civilizations lifted from poverty. There would be a galaxy slowly learning that cooperation was better than domination. And through it all, humanity would be there, quiet, professional, ready to defend those who could not defend themselves. It was what they had always wanted to be. The stars stretched into lines as the ship entered FTL. The quiet professional carried its crew toward home, toward the world that had built them and the future they had created. Ambassador Chen smiled as the light of distant suns flowed past the windows. The galaxy had expected a shuttle. They had received something far more dangerous. They had received hope.